you know?
Hmm.
And what I'm trying to say is that, I think for me, Brad, I think at the end of the day, what I really think about, what really motivates me in this realm, in this space, is I go back to what Nick Saban taught me. And what he taught me was, um, at the end of each day, you get a little better, a little worse.
Hmm.
And if you just break things down by the day and just focus on getting 1% better each day, then you'll attain whatever fitness or nutrition or weight loss goal you want over time. You know what I mean? There are some people who make drastic differences, and that's fine. And they make a change in an instant and they go
Hmm.
head first into it and all that. But slow and steady wins the race.
Yep.
I mean, everybody's heard the rabbit and the hare. I mean, I mean, I'm sorry, the hare and the turtle.
It's a rabbit
That
there. I was like, yep. Yeah, rabbit in
the
the
hare and
hair.
the turtle, the rabbit and the
That's
hare.
funny. The,
But
yeah.
slow and steady wins the race.
Yes.
It's the grooves
It's
that you
wisdom
make
too.
in life that keeps you into
Hmm.
it. Let me finish that thought by saying, and then I'll let you comment.
Yeah.
Whenever I took that break in Alabama, my number one goal was not to lose my gym habits. That was my
Yeah.
number one goal.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did when I got home was I went and got a gym membership,
Yeah.
which compelled me to go there 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah.
The first thing I did when I got here is I started doing home workouts, running and jogging, and researching gyms to keep myself in a fit space. So what I'm trying to say is that we carve out grooves of our life, and they can either be positive grooves or negative grooves to make us a little bit better or a little bit worse
Yeah.
as we go through life.
Just
You
a
know?
little at a time,
Yeah,
and I love that concept. Saban would like that too, of like win the day, win the morning,
yeah,
win the day, and just
yeah,
keep winning the morning and winning the day,
yeah.
winning the morning, winning the day. I like Zig Ziglar. The way he said it one time I heard was, I chose to eat too much today, so I chose to weigh too much tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, but
Yeah.
that teaches you, is it's really your body today is a representation of your decisions yesterday and last week and this past year. So if you can look back and show that you have been doing the right thing, I think that this is a good segue to wrap it all up back to the ego. Your ego is going to give you all the reasons why it's not your fault, why it's not its fault. And so when you smash the limiting beliefs and you kind of break down the story, we tell ourselves, like, here's the thing about being a nutrition coach and personal trainer. It's kind of funny. The most telling thing of the process is tracking your food intake. So if you've ever tracked your food intake, doing it, if you've never done it, doing it for a year or two, or even 6 months or even 3 months at a time, teaches you so much about the food going into your body. But here's the thing: if you talk to 99%, if 90% of the people who say they can't lose weight, if you were to ask them to show you their food logs and show you their food tracked over a few weeks or a few months of time, they couldn't give you the data. So you can't say something's not working for you if you
If,
don't have the
if you're
data,
unaware,
if you're unaware of the data as well.
yeah.
But also when you bring that point up, people almost automatic you they we all come to grips with it at some point, is the truth. You can say, well, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me. I've said that multiple times. I tried things. I remember when I first lost like 15 to 20 pounds and I was lifting weights. After that, nothing else worked. I stayed at 120 or 228 pounds. I would not go down. I would not go down. And I had to eat better food. I had to eat better food and stop eating all the time. And I just learned that and I come to grips with it. I track my food intake and I'd be like, bro, I just ate 5,000 calories, like nothing. And I tracked it, and you're looking it in the face, and you're just looking at the truth in the face, and you're like, all right, so that, like I can't eat 5,000 calories every day if I'm trying to lose 20 more pounds. Like you start to learn the thing, and so once people come to grips with it, they're like, oh. I guess I'm going to actually try to track my food intake. And if you do it with a coach, they'll hold you accountable to do it. Then after that, it's like if you show me 6 months of food logs and tracked food intake and it done 80% correctly, you're going to get to your goal.
Can I comment something
Science.
really? Can I
Mm-hmm.
comment something really quick?
Mm-hmm.
To your point, yesterday we went hiking and we went to a brewery and they had a little food truck out beside it. And so I went out there and it was a little Vietnamese food truck. Amazing food, by the way, bomb
Mm-hmm.
food. Everything is great in Seattle,
Yeah.
food wise, by the way, so far. So I get this. They have chicken, pork, and they have a tofu, a bowl with rice. I like tofu. I don't know
Yeah.
why I like it, but I really like tofu. And so I get the tofu bowl and we go sit down and I'm with humans that I don't know. So she goes, "Oh, are you vegan or vegetarian?"
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm actually like I don't eat a whole lot of red meat, but I do eat chicken, I eat seafood, and I just like the taste of tofu. I don't
Yeah.
know. And she goes, "I'm the opposite. I'm vegan, vegetarian, or whatever she is."
I
And she goes,
only
"I,"
eat tofu.
she goes, "I hate tofu. I
Oh.
don't like it." My point of the story and what I told her was, I was like, what I found for me, like the strategy for me when it comes to food and my relationship with it, is I enjoyed the tofu. I probably would have enjoyed something more unhealthy more, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed the tofu. I enjoy the tofu, and now I'm going to get to enjoy the rest of my day
Yeah.
and tomorrow
Yep.
because of my food choice in the moment.
Yep.
If I had chosen a heavy hamburger, greasy, with French fries and ketchup, I'm going to enjoy that burger 10 times more than that tofu.
Yep.
But I'm going to suffer 10 times more the rest of the day and
Yeah.
tomorrow, me, like, with who I am.
Yeah.
And so my decisions based on food are like what you eat, but then like who you are after you eat
A
too.
little more. Yeah. Also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I didn't. That's my own egoic kind of
Yeah.
interpretation of making sure that I am enjoying my meal, but I'm also looking out for my future version of myself to make
Mm-hmm.
sure he feels good for tonight or
Yeah.
even tomorrow or sleeps well.
Well, I think
So,
that's the importance too of it brings it back to NLP, which is if NLP is another way of saying mindset, just your mindset. And then two, flexibility too. So you want to have flexibility built
yep,
into your diet,
yep,
to where you don't NLP yourself bad where you're like, oh, I ate so bad, I can't, some people have a restrict and binge cycle to where if they eat even slightly bad, they'll restrict themselves for days and days and be starving and then eat a lot of and it just keep being in this perpetual cycle. So that's where the ego comes in. The ego beat you never want to let the ego beat yourself up for doing something. You just want to have awareness of it,
yes,
and
yes,
then be aware of, like myself, I like to have a pizza night and I eat a lot of pizza. So that day and the day after, I don't need as many calories and I'm actually stuffed still from the pizza. So I'll eat like protein and some broccoli, but I'm not going to also have a stack of pancakes and this and this and this the next day because I'm aware of the fact that I had pizza last night. I'm not
mm,
mad at myself for having pizza last night. I'm not
yep.
bad because I did pizza last night. I had pizza last night and I liked it.
Because if you get really upset at yourself and mad at yourself for eating that pizza,
Mm-hmm.
what it births is the desire to eat more pizza.
Eat more pizza
Like
and
to to
suffering.
to
Yeah.
to comfort yourself for the suffering you're giving yourself in the moment for beating
Mm-hmm.
yourself up. So you wind
Mm-hmm.
up in this negative cycle of eating.
More of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Rather than just being like,
At peace with it.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
At
And
peace.
that's what
I make peace
and
with everywhere.
that peacefulness is what's going to like help you uh, choose wisely like around
Mm-hmm.
that. And I totally agree with you too. I like to get me, a bag of cookies every now and then and go to
Yeah, man.
town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
About
some almond
20%,
milk.
20,
Yeah,
30%.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's important to have that good relationship, but also not like beat yourself up because I think when
Mm-hmm.
you beat yourself up, you eat more unhealthily to comfort yourself when you do
Yeah.
beat yourself up.
And I think about that too, like with like, some people may see that part of when I was like, look, if you track your food intake, you will get the result you want. I always will also backtrack back to mindset as well in NLP. Like, does the person believe that they can track their food intake? Do they believe that they can have a slice of pizza without going off the rails? It all starts with the mindset and what you believe and your thought process of things. And I think that's when you're aware of what your future self, like if this will serve your future self, I think would you agree that it feels like you're more in the spirit making decisions? And then
Yes, yes,
if you're thinking the more instant gratification at the expense of others, negative, then that's more the ego making decisions.
yes,
And the spirit's
yes,
making more decisions. That's even so. Think about this: the spirit may be making, even if it's like, say, somebody negatives in your life, and your spirit's moving you to actually tell them off and not talk to them again. That could be your spirit because it's a little negative, but your
right,
spirit's like, get out of this situation. We're going to be
right.
stern, and it's like more of your higher self. Your spirit is more of that. And I think about it too. I always have this funny cartoon in my head where there's like my higher self and there's my higher self brain and there's my ego brain, and they're always kind of battling and talking to each other, and that's the best kind of representation I have for it. And I'm like, all right, I had my meal of rice and chicken at 4, and then I'm gonna have dinner at 7, and then I get off work at 9, and I'll be good. And then at like 5:30, my manager Hannah comes in with like donuts, and I'm like, what's that? And then so, but like so the the a little bit of that like ego side is just like just have a donut. You know they mess your stomach up, but you'll be fine. Eat two
Hmm.
or three.
Hmm.
My higher self is like, we have dinner planned at 7, and we feel good when we eat like this. Maybe have donuts this weekend with Haley, your fiance, and have donuts as a treat, as a dessert after a good date night. That'd be a better situation. My ego's like,
Hmm.
but donuts are here now, and
Hmm.
I'm like, but this weekend it's like now, and it's like you just kind of, and then I think the more disciplined you are, or and things like that, more NLP'd you are to yourself. Your higher self's your master, and your ego is your servant. But it's good. My ego is going to really enjoy that donut on Saturday still. I got to talk him
Yes.
down. I'm like, bro, it's
Yes.
okay. Saturday you're getting a donut. And he's like, no, it's right now. And it's like, but he'll be okay. He'll be okay being pissed off that he didn't get the donut because Saturday is going to be that much better for both of us. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think the way I
The
kind of
whole,
look at it, the way I kind of look at it, I love the way Ram Dass says it, and I hope I don't butcher it too bad, but he says, his neuroses or his vices, they can either be cockroaches or dragons, basically,
hmm
And
hmm
if your vice is a dragon, then you're not going to have control to slay that dragon. If that
hmm
dragon wants cookies or whatever, or too much drink or
just like,
a
take it,
or whatever, like it just
get
goes,
him.
right?
Yeah.
But once you get more in control of your ego, those vices and neuroses, they're still there. They'll never
hmm
go away, but they become little cockroaches, right?
Yeah.
They come up and they're like, "Hey, how's it going? You
I
should eat a
just,
little you should eat a little cookie.
I
You know what I mean? Like,
just,
hey, why don't you have a little cookie? You know what I mean? That'd
dude.
be really
All I see is the cockroach coming in and being like, "Dude, just take a bite." And I'm like, "No, man." He's like, "Oh, "Okay," and I like dap him up, and he like walks off, and it's like late Saturday. He's like,
Yeah, yeah.
all right, big dog," and like crawls off, and it's like,
Yeah. I
so.
think,
But I love that.
to wrap all this up, and
Yeah.
if you have another point, it's okay. But to wrap everything up, I think, my message to the listeners would be, there's the awareness of being and understanding that your failures and your shortcomings and your experiences and all that, like it's okay. And I think once you kind of get to a place in your head where you love yourself and you're okay with yourself and you
hmm
accept yourself and you're being with yourself, then that unconditional love turns into a better grasp and control
Yeah.
over your ego. And I think to me, that's where it starts. And I think for me personally, I think things work for like David Goggins, for example. He's a different beast, right? Like he's a
Yeah.
totally different type of human. I love that guy. I follow him, but there's certain humans that, I don't think are wired that way in such a way that we need to, for me, be accepting of ourselves, love our, brothers and sisters.
hmm
And basically, to me, that is a way for me to forgive my own self for eating bad or not doing what I'm supposed
Yeah.
to do or whatever. And that's to me the first step for getting awareness over my ego, getting better with my ego, and having a better relationship with it, knowing it's always going to be there and I actually need it, but
hmm
to know that it's not the master or the power over me and making decisions through me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the best way to say it, I feel like, is to become aware of your shortcomings, but don't become your shortcomings.
Yes.
So
Yes.
become aware of them and don't become them, but they are a bit of you in your story. And so I think that's where it benefits to where everyone has their own unique shortcomings to overcome. I think that's part of your story, and I think that's why the ego exists. The ego exists to challenge you and to be of the flesh and to be misleading, because if you didn't have the flesh or the ego lead that is desire, you'd walk around looking at flowers and looking at stuff and just loving life. You'd be all spirit already. You know what I mean? And I think the ego was made to experience a little bit of earth, but to tame it to make the spirit stronger. And so everyone has their own egoic overcomings, and they're all unique to the person. But I think it's important to become aware of your shortcomings, but don't become them. So when I say, I've been diagnosed with ADD and been struggling with some symptoms like that, but I don't want to say that I am a person who becomes distracted and inattentive. I don't want to become that. I am aware of those shortcomings. I'm aware that I interrupt people when I do this and I do that. I'm aware of it and I'm working on it. I'm not, oh, well, I just interrupt people, or, oh, I just do this. Hey, it's the way I am. That's the point of being aware of your shortcomings, not becoming your shortcomings.
I
And
love
that's
it.
don't become the ego. Be aware of your ego. Don't become the ego. You know what I'm saying?
And I think the the ending message as well too, and another point is you always have to constantly work on it. You never get there.
It's a never ending process.
You never get there. You're never like I've arrived.
Probably even when you die,
Yes, I mean,
you're just gonna keep going and keep growing and doing cool shit
100%.
and being authentic.
I love it.
AF.
Would you like to take a moment now to maybe introduce the podcast and talk a little bit
Yeah,
about it at all, and kind of what our missions, our goals, and,
yeah.
kind of what we're trying to accomplish through this?
Yes. So we're just going to be creating some episodes and getting into the groove of things. We are calling it the Authentic AF podcast because we believe that to be authentic is everything, and to just be yourself is kind of the key to things. And figuring out your own journey, figuring out your own ego, figuring out your own spirit, figuring out your own purpose, your own whys, your own NLP tactics that you need to be the best version of yourself. So on this podcast, we'll be talking a lot about how to become the most authentic version of yourself, and we're going to be talking a lot about spirituality and Jesus and Buddha and Ram Dass and Alan Watts and just philosophies and stoicism and men's mental health and therapy. And we're going to be talking about anything that we can. Is also diet, health, fitness. I'm a personal trainer and a diet coach myself, and I'm a nutrition specialist. So we talk a lot about that on here as well because that is very important with mental health and coming into your authentic self, finding what foods and what diet and what exercise routines agree with you. But we'll be talking a lot about how to increase, I guess you would say, your spiritual awareness and your ego awareness and your authentic self, which would be your higher self.
I think you said that about as perfectly as, as humanly possible, man.
I had
That
one
was
breath.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. My name's Jamie Jackson. I'm in hospitality. I have a lot of background in hospitality. I've bartended, I've served, I've washed dishes, I've managed, I've ran restaurants. I lived in Alabama, I lived in Atlanta, I lived in Fort Collins, Colorado. Just took a little sabbatical back home for 3 weeks. I am now in Seattle, Washington,
Seattle.
and loving it. Brad probably just mentioned that he is in Atlanta, so we are on
Atlanta.
opposite ends
Opposite ends.
of
Yep.
the U.S. here.
Yep.
And all I want to say is that our goal is to talk about things in an authentic way and just get conversations out there to, if one clip of this helps one person,
One
I think
person.
for
Yeah.
me is enough to have this be worthy and to keep going. And obviously, I think what we've talked about too is, I think our biggest focus for this is helping one another, like helping me and Brad, helping me to help
Mm-hmm.
Brad and Brad help
Mm-hmm.
me. And I think that is a centralized force that will attract and be magnetic and help others as well. And that's kind of our centralistic goal in all of this. If I said anything else, I'd be repeating what you said because,
Yeah.
like I said,
Yeah.
you
No
encompassed
worries.
everything in
I love
in
it.
your wrap ups. I think that was great.
Yeah. And I say I'm a spiritual being, a follower of Christ. My name is Bradley Albright because I laughed at this in a meditation the other day. The more spiritual more meditations, and the older I get, the more I get weirded. You get weird with my own name because I'm like, I'm Bradley, but it's like, that name was given to me. That's my personality.
Mm-hmm.
But I do honestly feel like I am the spirit, I am the soul, I am the Holy Ghost. And I am that's the authentic version of you. And that's your soul is the authentic version of you that's trying to shine forth all the time. And so we must overcome our ego and our lessons here. But yeah, I love it. And it's the Authentic AF podcast. I feel if anyone out there ever has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you think we suck, DM me, let me know, tell me what I can fix or
Yeah.
improve upon. Or if I'm moving too fast or if I can be more interesting, just let me know.
And do you want to give some quick audio on how people can follow you and how people can
Yeah.
get involved with what you're doing too?
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's fitness_with_Bradley. So I do a lot of Instagram, and then we are going to be on YouTube and on Apple Podcast as the Authentic AF podcast. I'll put that out there soon. Like I said, on Instagram is my main one, fitness_with_Bradley.
And
So
just
I'm
to give
actually,
you,
yeah, I'm
and
actually
just to
doing
give,
personal training in Atlanta, and I'm also running youth basketball and strength training camps here locally.
And just to give y'all a sneak peek on episode 2, I believe
Hmm.
we've landed on the Holy Spirit,
The
I
Holy
believe, for
Spirit,
episode 2.
the
So
spirit of all things.
that will be a nice little segue from the ego, and then this
Hmm.
will evolve as time goes on, and hopefully, like Brad said, we welcome criticism, we welcome things we're doing well, we welcome things we're
Hmm.
not doing well. Obviously, I need
Suggestions,
some. Well,
topics,
the sun's coming in, so my lighting's starting
lighting.
to get up here.
My glasses glare.
You
Me
know,
beat them to it. Glasses
yeah,
glare.
yeah. So
Mustache.
we're gonna work on some things. We're gonna evolve this, and I think we're open to the worst criticisms and the best praise, and they're all just awesome ways for us to improve in general.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Cool, cool. Well, that'll be our sign off, and I appreciate you, brother, and I appreciate the great conversation.
love you too, man. Absolutely.
All right, love you, brother. I'll talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
sounds good, homie.
Bye.
Bye, man.